Hello rock stars, Matt Vanderbo here. Hey, one of the biggest problems that composers or songwriters face when they decide to take the jump into making music for television shows is that they bring all of the knowledge and experience that they had in their own little musical world and try to apply it to the music that they are now making for TV. And as a result, these people get rejection after rejection after rejection after rejection after rejection because really they are doing it all wrong. And that's the unfortunate fact of the matter. None of the experience and knowledge that you might have built in this former musical life is going to translate to this vast realm of sync music. They are completely different animals. And while music is music, yes, it's all made with instruments and electronics and yada. These two types of music couldn't be farther apart in terms of approaches and styles and rules. So if we've got sync music right here, and over here you've got music that's designed for a stage or for your own album or for a songwriter pitched to an artist, these are entirely separate musical families, okay? In fact, they might not even be related at all. You would have to go many generations back on the old family tree to find some common great grandfather that ties both people together to find any type of commonality, because sync music and stage music or album music could not be farther apart. And unfortunately, people just don't know this. And so you get these veteran performers that have spent 20, 30, 40 years playing on stages. They might even be a big name, or maybe they're just a person that's been playing their local bars and watering holes for a long time. Or maybe someone has written a bunch of albums and they've got a vast catalog of their own music. Or perhaps they've produced a bunch of hip hop beats that they have for sale. Or they went to composition school at college and now they've got this degree. And then they come over here only to find out that they are horribly unprepared because they don't know any of the new rules. This is an entirely new realm with new rules, new language, new terminology, new strategies, new approaches, new genres, new everything that you have never even thought of living in this musical world over here. And let's just take a minute to send one up to those poor composition students at colleges and universities that have probably spent $30,000 or $40,000 to get a composition degree, only to come out armed with a bunch of great knowledge that does not pertain to this industry. And so all that money and student loans and everything else that they've now got, they're still unprepared for this world. I've yet to see any university that actually teaches how to make musical cues for TV shows, with the exception of one. I did do some guest lecturing at Augustana University in a little old Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And their music program is really cutting edge, and they are teaching this stuff, which is great for those students. I told these students, you don't know how good you have it here at that little school. But every other university I've seen, their music programs are teaching antiquated stuff. They seem to have the mentality that music has ceased to exist since Richard Wagner. And they're peddling all this 12-tone methodology, and none of that works for sync music. It just doesn't. So it would seem like nobody is teaching people how to do this correctly, but there is information out there. You just have to find it. I mean, conversely, you could go to YouTube right now and type in Circle of Fifths music theory, and you'll probably get 100 or maybe even 1,000 different video search results. But if you type in edit points for music cues, you'll probably get 1 or 2 results, and one of those videos will be mine. So the information is out there, it's just hard to find. Now, you're doing yourself a good service by watching my channel, but I would never say that I am the end-all be-all when it comes to this. In fact, I probably know far less about it than you think I do. But I know some other composers and songwriters, good friends of mine, that have their own YouTube channels that are giving out a lot of good information as well. And one of these days, I'll spotlight them here on my channel. One other company that I would like to mention, this is an unpaid testimonial, by the way, is the company called Taxi, which I will be forever grateful for because that's where I got my start. And anyways, I'll do a whole video on them later too, but just know for now that every single week on Monday afternoon, the owner of the company does a video where he covers some aspect of the sync music business. And he's been doing this for like 15 years. And you can go to YouTube and watch 15 years worth of videos that are all an hour and a half long. He's covered every single facet that you could possibly think of and a million that you've never even dreamed of before. And sadly, because he has been so good about putting so much information out, there is now such a mountain of information on the Taxi YouTube channel that finding the one thing that you might need is kind of like finding a needle in a haystack. So hopefully this is where I can come in to give you some short videos with little tips and tricks that'll help you out along the way. But the thing that I want you to know right now is that all of the old skills that you might have from decades worth of writing songs or performing on stage do not mean anything in the sync business. So you can take all that knowledge and flush it down the crapper. So you can take all that knowledge, drive it out to the desert, dig a 6-foot hole and bury it for all the good it's going to do you. You can take all that knowledge you have and shove it right up your because it's not going to do you any good in this sync world. It doesn't matter what your pedigree is, doesn't matter who you are, if you know some Grammy-winning producer, if you are a Grammy-winning producer, if you know Jim Steinman or Alice Cooper.
Boy, I'm throwing some old names out there.
If you know Justin Bieber. It doesn't matter if you've owned a recording studio, if you produced a song with Ariana Grande. It doesn't matter if you've made 20 albums of amazing music. The only thing that matters in the sync world is, does your song or cue solve a problem? And if you want more information on that, check out this video. But I will tell you right now that making cool music is not the answer. You need to be making usable music.
And of course, I have a video on that too. Click this one.
So when it comes right down to it, the people that get into the sync business that might have an extensive history of musicianship behind them are at a disadvantage compared to the people that are coming in with blind naivete that will just soak up any bit of information they can find. Because these seasoned pros from different facets of the music business are going to bring all of their habits and songwriting approaches to the sync business, only to find out that none of it works and none of it is appropriate. And to try to get those people to break those habits, oh my goodness, it would be like telling a lifelong smoker that they got to give up smoking. I mean, you got to do it, right? But it's hard. It's hard to give up old habits. But we have to do it if we want to see any success. And it's just a terrible blow to the ego to tell someone who's got 20 albums to their name and maybe even some Grammys or whatever, to tell them that they need to go to the beginning of their educational journey and figure out what a cue is and figure out what a good song for TV entails. And they basically need to learn everything from scratch. That is a very tough ask, and I understand that, but you need to do it. You need to swallow your pride, cut your ego,
and admit that you know nothing about this industry.
But until you do that, and until you learn how to do things the right way, you are just going to be spinning yourself in circles, doing everything wrong repeatedly, and getting nothing but rejection after rejection after rejection, and then coming up with some reason why the sync world is out to get you, and this branch of the music business is just not your thing, and it's only a good old boys network where only a few people will ever get their music placed on TV.
Blah, blah, blah.
I've heard it a million times, and none of it is true. So I want you to swallow your pride right now. Admit that you know nothing about writing music for TV and learn it all from the ground up. Forget the fact that you are a great musician. Doesn't matter. I mean, it will take you part of the way there, but let's draw an analogy between music and athletics. Let's pretend that we could reach in with our hand and pluck an NBA player off of the court. Let's just say Steph Curry. Okay, so we reach in, we grab Steph Curry off the basketball court, and we place him on a balance beam at a gymnastics competition. And we say, all right, Steph, you are an amazing basketball player, so this should be easy for you. Now hit us with that perfect 10 balance beam routine. Yeah, right? He's gonna fall on his ass. He is going to have to learn how to do the balance beam, and he's going to have to learn it from scratch. Now, being a good athlete will take him part of the way there, just like being a good musician will take us part of the way there. but he's going to have to admit that he knows nothing about gymnastics, which probably isn't a stretch, and he'll have to go to gymnastics balance beam 025 classes, just like you need to be going to music cue making 025, or better yet, my free Music 101 course on YouTube, which you just click right here. But until you learn how to do it right, you're just going to be staring down dead ends. And again, you cannot rely on your previous experience and skill set in music to translate to sync music. It would be like telling a porn star that they could be on the next set of Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise. Now, hey, they are actors or actresses, right? Different type of acting, okay? So skill sets do not translate, but everybody can learn. So that's my challenge to you. Before you go complaining about this industry and all of the rejections that are surely coming your way, they still come my way too, by the way, but you need to know the right way to make music if you want to stand a chance at getting ahead. So I hope this opened your mind and it was not too depressing. I will end this with a joke just because that's what I've been doing lately. So what food did the mythical creature bring to a barbecue? Unicorn on the cob. Oh, these jokes are awful. All right, I'll see you rock stars later. Toodaloo.